Hey everyone, I'm JT from Ebike, and in today's video, we're gonna take a look at a smaller, lesser known brand located right here in the heart of the Midwest, Volton Bicycles. This is their Alation 500 Plus, but before we get into any more specifics, let's take a closer look. Now, before we talk any more about the Volton Alation 500, I just want to give everyone a quick overview of how this review is going to be set up. First thing we're going to do is we're going to give you a little background information on Volton. Then we're going to take a up-close look at all of the componentry, remove the battery, talk about the motor. Then we're going to throw it to some first-person riding footage and really show you how that torque sensor, yes, this bike has a torque sensor, how that torque sensor is to pedal and how the entire bike is set up as far as comfort-wise. Then we're going to put it to the grueling test up our hill climb test where we really see how powerful the motor is. And then at the very end, I'll give you some reasons you should and should not consider the Volton Alation 500 Plus. So to start out, who is Volton Ebikes? Volton Ebikes, like I said, is located here in the heart of the Midwest. They're located just outside of Chicago, down south of me here in Wisconsin. They've been in the business since 2011, and they offer bikes from cruiser style e-bikes all the way up to full-fledged e-mountain bikes with some pretty impressive parts. And one thing that I think helps Volton stand out a little bit is that they don't only offer their own assembled e-bikes, they also offer service and conversions in-house at their facility down in Chicago. I actually saw a YouTube short from them recently where they converted a Tadpole recumbent bike to an e-bike, something that I'm pretty interested in as of recently. So if you haven't picked up on it already, Volton Ebikes is a small e-bike manufacturer. And given that this is our first e-bike from them, we can't really say much about their support. We don't have any hands-on customer support from them. But what we can say is that they are a small business. So the customer support is going to seem very personalized and is going to be very direct. Something we like to do when a brand is new to us is I want to ask everyone out there, if you have purchased a Volton e-bike or have any experience with their customer support or anything like that, please let us know in the comments down below. It helps us and other potential customers. While you're down there, we also have a link in the description to this Alation 500 Plus. So if you are thinking about purchasing one of your own, if you do so after clicking that link, it is a free and easy way to show support to us here at Ebike Escape. And if you are not looking to purchase an e-bike, but you're down there anyway, go ahead and click that subscribe button. That is another free way to show support to us here at Ebike Escape. Thank you guys so much in advance for all the support you have shown and will continue to show to us here at Ebike Escape. Now that you know who Volton is, let's talk specifics about the Alation 500 Plus. Now, this bike is offered in two variations. You have the Alation 500 Plus and you have the non-plus version. The Plus version here is offered at $16.99 and the non-plus is offered at $14.99. The biggest difference between those two models is going to be a torque sensor. The Plus model has a torque sensor, and whereas the non-plus model just sticks with a traditional cadence sensor. Now, I'll talk a bit more about torque sensor versus cadence in the first-person riding footage, but a quick overview for you is that a torque sensor is going to offer a much more natural pedal feel as it measures the power that you're putting in a little bit more consistently, whereas a cadence sensor feels more like an on-off switch. If you're pedaling, power's on. If you're not pedaling, power is off. Now, this is the medium version of this bike. I will put the height recommendations for this bike on the screen for you now, but I am a 5'7" rider with a 29-inch inseam, and the ground here is a little bit slanted away, so I may look a little bit getting on, partly because of my flip-flops, but overall, it's a very comfortable bike once you get on. And if you get off the bike here and stand on the top tube, you do have a little bit of up pressure there with me having a little bit shorter of an inseam there. And that is partly because this is listed as a 18-inch seat tube. So if you are somebody that needs a little bit more comfort when standing over, I recommend the step-through version for everyone. And a couple other variations between the high step and step-through model, besides not having that top tube, is going to be colors. Now, both the high step and the step-through are offered in 4 different colorways with some variation in which color is available depending on whether you go with the step-through or the high step. And one other nice thing that really I think helps the Volton stand out is going to be its overall weight. The bike is listed as having a total weight, as you see it here, listed as 52 pounds. We'll go ahead and throw it on the scale and try and verify that for real quick for you. But it is a light bike overall, and we'll put the weight capacity for the bike here for you as well. Now, enough generals, let's get in close and take a look at some of the components that make up the bike. Starting up here in the front, let's talk about the component that touches the road the most. It's going to be your tires. These are your Schwalbe Fat Franks. Very bubbly tire, has a decent sidewall. These are the 26 by 2.35 size of these tires. They have a very slick tread, definitely meant for on-road riding or maybe crushed gravel paths. Then something that we don't always see, we actually get a branding on the rim. These are DP20 Alex rims. And as we work our way in, we're greeted to the Tektro hydraulic disc brakes and matching Tektro 180 80mm rotor. And I jumped right past the SR Suntour X1 32mm stension front fork. Let me give it a couple quick pushes for you here. Yep. It is a very nice sprung fork. SR Suntour is known for making suspension forks that almost outlive the bikes that they're equipped on. This fork also has a nice preload knob over here on the left and a lockout knob over here on the right, so you could simply lock out the suspension if you wanted to. Even the fenders on this bike are branded. They are SKS fenders, which just have a little bit of a different styling cue than the fenders that we typically see. There's the one in the front, and here is the nice almost full coverage one there in the rear. And then just above that front fender, we have this nice 4 LED listed as a 800 lumen front headlight. We have this nice neoprene wrapping on the wires up into the cockpit. And then you also notice that they disappear into the left side of the frame here on the underside. We'll notice here on the head tube, we do not have any mounting for aftermarket storage options. And then before we jump to the actual cockpit, I have to call out this adjustable stem here, which is nice for you to be able to actually adjust the cockpit to fit you, the end rider. Here's a look at the cockpit. We have nice Tektro hydraulic disc brake levers. On the left, non-locking black rubber grips. On the right-hand side, we have a bell, 8-speed Shimano thumb shifter there located underneath, twist grip throttle, matching grip and lever. Here's a look at the display. Very basic display. You have 3 buttons here on the side, and you have everything you need right there in front of you on one screen. Nice that I am in direct sunlight now, and you can very easily read it. Starting in the upper left, we have the battery bar. We have our headlight, because I turn that on. You simply turn that on and off by pushing the plus button. We have odometer, which is in reference to this number down here. Pedal assist levels here on the side, 1 to 5, although that is adjustable within the advanced settings of the display. Then we have the mile per hour currently going front and center. Simply push the power button, it cycles through. Now we're on our trip, current miles that we've driven, time that the bike has been on, the wattage power you're getting out from the motor, and then back to odometer. And if you hold the negative button here, let me get the rear wheel off the ground, you actually get walk mode. You'll notice that P illuminates, you get that little foot, and the rear motor goes at about 3 to 5 miles an hour. Nice if you ever have to push your bike around for some reason. And then to get into the advanced settings, I'm not gonna run through them all. You simply hold the plus and minus button at the same time. You get into this screen, you can cycle through. And I will put a link down in the description to the actual manual for this display. That manual is going to do a better job explaining how to modify and what settings you're modifying than I ever could. Now, moving down from the cockpit, here's where we get a decent look at the frame. Very bare frame overall. You do have your battery door mounted here, but you will notice up here on the top tube here, you have these 2 bolt holes set up nicely for a water bottle cage. However, for getting on and off the seat, I don't know if that's going to be the best location for it, but with the battery door there, they can't put bottle cage bosses there. We sell a bottle cage strap boss setup, which is this right here, which is going to be this Velcro strap, which you can simply throw over your frame there, and you could mount a bottle cage really wherever you wanted. You can mount it up here. I think the traditional place for it though is going to be right here on the frame. And then when you want to remove your battery, you can simply unvelcro and take this off and still be able to pull your battery in and out. Also here on the frame, you will notice that there is no rear rack, but I did notice that there were bosses actually on the frame right here and down here for if you wanted to say maybe mount your own. Now let's go ahead and pull that battery out for you. I've got my keys located here, kind of more of a barrel style key, which you'll put in the bottom of the door here and twist the lock up, and then this door will actually come off, and then it needs to slide down and out. To get out, it's got these little feet which clip onto the top of the frame. And this is really gonna be greeted to something I haven't really seen from any other manufacturer. It's gonna be a battery that's actually located in a bag. So you have this Velcro strap here for undoing the battery. Now let me go ahead and pull this out for you so I can show you the connecting points. You undo this Velcro strap, and then the battery actually slides up and out. And set you guys back down, undo this Velcro strap here. And you grab your 2 handles here, and the battery slides kind of down and out. It's a pretty tight fit between the frame rails there. And then down here on the bottom, something I haven't really ever seen before, we have a X60 connector and a barrel plug on the side here. Now they are located on the bottom of the battery here. Now it doesn't actually slide into any sort of port. You actually have to plug those wires in yourself and then put the battery in the bike. The Volton does come with a standard 2 amp charger. Let me go ahead and bring you in so you can take a look at these wires a little bit closer up. Here's a look at the XT60 connector, and then your barrel adjuster which plug in, and then you have this nice Velcro strap here that holds the battery in. Now this is a 14 amp hour 672 watt hour battery. And I also noticed that when I was looking at the bike, there is an offering for a 17.5 amp hour battery if you get the large frame. I'm assuming that's for room purposes. Obviously there's not a lot here. So if you get the large one, you can upgrade to a slightly larger battery. Now to get the battery back in, I actually found it was easier to get the battery almost completely in first and then plug in your battery here. So we're gonna get that in there, plug in the XT60. And that Velcro strap is nice, stops the battery from really bouncing around in there. And then the door kind of stops the rest of it. So, and to get the door back on,
get the top part slid up there, and then you simply push down on the door, clicks onto place. You don't need the keys to take anything off but the battery door. And one last battery statistic I think everybody out there wants to know, what's the range? Well, for this 14 amp hour battery, thanks to that torque sensor, you actually get a little bit more of a range, as the torque sensor does a good job kind of adjusting how much battery power it's giving you. That Volton claims up to 55 miles. I think the realistic number of that is probably closer to, I don't know, 20 to 30 miles. But again, that's all gonna depend on your weight, the terrain, and how much throttle you're using. Now, as we move down from the battery, here's a look at the torque sensor, but we also have these nice metal well-go pedals. And something else, we have the kickstand that's located here in the traditional place on a bike, but something you have to be careful of is if you're pushing your bike around, your pedal can come in contact and kind of lock you in place. Just something to be aware of. As we move back to the rear, here's a look at the Tektro hydraulic disc brake, matching rotor, rear fender, rear wheel and tire. Now, the Volton Alation does not come with a rear taillight, but they did come with this solar powered rear taillight. Just a traditional taillight, has a button located on the underside. You have a flashing mode, you have a slower flashing mode, and then you have a solid mode. Now we'll go back up there and talk about the seat and seat post in just a minute. But before we do that, let's talk about this motor and drivetrain. Now, the motor on this bike is listed as a 500 watt nominal. I don't want to get this wrong, 1056 watt peak motor. And then as we move out from the motor, you get greeted to a nice 13 to 34 tooth 8-speed rear freewheel. We have a Shimano Acera derailleur moving your chain nicely over the gears. And then as we move up to the front here, we have a 44 tooth front chainring. Now, the last thing to talk about before we go to some riding footage and talk about this bike, here's a look at this really nice Velo saddle, very sleek saddle overall. And you'll notice that it is mounted to a SR Suntour NCX suspension seat post. Now, I kind of want to save this for the end of the component section because this is a nice thing Volton has done. They've offered us a code that if you use, we'll have it linked down in the description. But if you use that code, anytime you purchase an Alation model, you will receive the SR Suntour suspension seat post for free. And now that pretty much wraps up the componentry that makes up the Volton Alation 500 Plus. So how does it pedal? How does it perform up our hill climb test? And should you buy it? Let's find out. All right, here we are at the riding portion of the review. Let's go ahead and talk about how this bike is to pedal and how it handles. I'm gonna start out by giving you guys a little bit of an idea about the comfort. Sorry, taking in some of the last glimpses of this beautiful lake here in Wisconsin. We have a beautiful day here in the middle of July. One of the reasons I love Wisconsin is because of summer. All right, back to the bike. So starting out, this bike, very comfortable. One thing we do have to talk about though is going to be a torque sensor versus a cadence sensor for those that don't know. But first, let's talk about comfort. How does the bike fit? Again, this is the medium frame, 5'7" rider, 29-inch inseam. Bike fits me great. There's a lot of adjustment, obviously. The adjustable stem in the cockpit. I kind of like it being down, but you can also adjust it up if you need to sit up a little bit more. Very stable, even when I take my hands off the handlebars there. It's a good sign of a well-engineered, good bike. It doesn't feel too heavy. It's nice to pedal. Having those 8 gears is nice. Overall, it's a very well put together bike, and definitely shows that there was some thought that went into it. And then of course, I have to say, love having a suspension front fork. Recognized brand is nice. Suspension, rear seat post are game changer accessories. And what we mean by that, it adds suspension to the rear is literally what it does. And it just feels great. And don't forget, use the code in the description, Ebike Escape. If you purchase any Alation 500, they will include a free SR Suntour seat post, get you guys a free product, get you a product that we love and recommend for free. So it's very nice. All right, next thing, torque sensor versus cadence sensor. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the street. So the big difference, I hinted at it a little bit for anybody that doesn't know, the torque sensor is gonna be a device that actually measures how much power you're putting in and kind of amplifies the power based upon that. Whereas a cadence sensor is like an on-off switch, and typically they have like a speed cap for you to say it's just going to give you the full motor power out to a certain place, or it's only going to give you X amount of power in each pedal assist level. So it just doesn't feel as natural. Whereas this bike now, it feels pretty natural. It's pretty nice. So, all right, so let's go ahead and slow it down here. And the first thing we're going to do is the test I think everybody wants to see. And that is, how is this bike on throttle power alone? Now, quick note about this throttle, you get full access to the power via the throttle, regardless of which pedal assist level you're in. So it doesn't matter whether you're in 1 or 5. And I believe even if you're in the 0 section, yep, if you're even in 0, you get access to the throttle. So now one nice thing about the throttle that I noticed, we'll notice here right when I go to take off. So this is gonna be throttle only, is gonna be that it tapers in the power. So I don't know if you're able to see this number here on the display, but this is gonna be the wattage output of the motor. And it started out at about 300 watts, stepped up to 500, 600, and now it's up to that 1,000 watt number. Now, interesting thing about the throttle on this bike is that it does not adhere to class 2 regulations, which means it should stop at 20 miles an hour on throttle power alone. It's actually taking me all the way up to 24 miles an hour. And then the motor power actually cuts there. And so now it's giving me about 500 watts to maintain me at 24, 25 miles an hour. So nice throttle, very smooth acceleration, easy to approach. Even if you accidentally hit the twist grip throttles, which can accidentally happen sometimes, it does gradually ease in the power, which is very nice, very approachable. Like I said, overall, it's a very comfortable bike to ride. All right, starting out here from a stop, let's go ahead and run through the pedal assist levels. I am shifted all the way down to 1 on the shifter, and I'm in pedal assist level 1, doing about, I don't know, 6, 7 miles an hour. I'm gonna try and keep a easy cadence this whole time so that you can get an idea of what this bike is capable of, even if you're not Wicked Witch of the West doing it. So here we go. So first gear, I would have to shift up. Second, I started to feel a little bit more resistance on my legs there. I would probably even go to about somewhere about third here. This is a pretty comfortable amount of pressure on my legs, and the bike is giving me a little bit of power here. About 10 miles an hour here. And then one thing I did notice too is that the pedal assist levels are actually still also speed limited. So what I mean by that is that the wattage here, it's giving me somewhere, I think I saw up to like 150, 200 watts, and it got me up to 10 miles an hour, and then the power actually cuts. So even though this is a torque sensor bike, it's not gonna give you, say, 200 watts and just let you kind of work to your heart's content. It's still gonna give you a speed cap. So now let's go ahead and kick it up, pedal assist level 2, a little bit of a hill here. I am in third gear still, and we're getting about 330 watts somewhere in there. It looks like 11, 12 miles an hour. And I'm curious where the actual speed cap will be for this. So I would shift up here to fourth now, and it looks like the power is kind of starting to taper out there around maybe 15, 16 miles an hour. So here we go. Still not a lot of resistance on my legs. I'm trying to, with the hills here. So yeah, it looks like about 14 miles an hour is where pedal assist level 2 is gonna cut out. So now let's shift it up, pedal assist level 3. I would have to shift up to fifth here to get some resistance on my legs. And there we go. Now the sensor starts to pick up that I'm putting in pressure again. I don't know, 370, 400 watts there. I would have to shift up here to sixth. Looks like still 420-ish watts or so, 460. I think I did see 500 there for a second. Let's see, but the speed cap in pedal assist level 3 is gonna be, let's see, is about 18 miles an hour. Here we go, kicking up pedal assist level 4. I'm in 6 on the shifter now. Nice resistance on my legs. Power starts to come in, kind of takes over. Looks like we're getting about, let's see here. I have to shift up here because I'm starting to ghost pedal a little bit. 7th on the shifter. Oh man, 20-ish miles an hour there. Kind of from a stop here. Pedal assist level 4, 7th gear, 18. Yep, still not putting in a lot of pressure here. 18. 19. Oh man, I have to shift up here to 8th. Looks like, is it 19, 20 miles an hour there? Nope, I'm still getting, 500, 540 watts. I'm curious what I'm gonna get in pedal assist level 5 here. But yeah, it looks like 20, 21, 22. It's still giving me power. Okay, there you go. Looks like about 23 is where it starts to cut back on the power there. So let's see, shifting, going down because we're going uphill here. And the motor just comes in and boosts you right up those hills. Very nice. And it kind of eases the power in, eases the power out. So it feels very natural. All right, so now let's shift it up. Pedal assist level 5. Let's see what the bike can do if I'm just kind of cruising here, pedaling. And we're getting 277 watts, 560 watts. Looks like 24, 25, 26. Did see 26 there for a second. 690 watts, 750 watts. It feels like right about 26 miles an hour. It almost feels like that's where it decides to stop giving you power when you're pedaling. So you get a few more miles an hour than over throttle. So here we go. I'm just gonna give it everything I can. Let's go ahead and slow down now. Go ahead and shift down. And we are just gonna pedal as fast as we can here from a stop. Okay, almost a stop. All right, here we go. 2, 3 miles an hour, there we go. All right, pedal level 5, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, Yep, 918 watts. 23 miles an hour. 24. Looks like, yeah, right about 25 miles an hour there. It actually stops providing you any of those 1,000 watts of power. All right, here we are, the hill climb test. Let's see what this motor's capable of. Anybody not familiar? First time up, we're gonna go up under throttle power alone. Second time up, I'm gonna go up while pedaling. And then on our way back down between the two runs, I am going to test out those brakes to see how they do. First time up, like I said, throttle alone, providing none of my own power. Bike pretty much accelerates right there up to, like I said, about 19 miles an hour. The display is showing about 970 watts. We'll see how long it can maintain that. Pretty much what we found from doing these hill climb tests is that in a worst case scenario here is going to be throttle power alone, because you're not providing any of your own power. It is a bike after all, so you should expect to at least pedal a little bit. But if for some reason you're not capable or you have a really steep hill, this just kind of gives you the idea of what it's capable of. And also we'll throw the specs for this hill on the screen now so you can get an idea of how steep it is. It's a pretty steep hill and it kind of just drags on for a little bit. It looks like wattage just dropped kind of slowly to about 700, then 600, and now it's sitting at about 595. And there you go, the steepness of the hill kind of went away there, or there you go, the hill kind of ended there. It looks like we got down to about 6 or 7 miles an hour, which is not the lowest top speed we've seen. As you know, we've seen some bikes, of course, not make it up, but not the highest either, but still capable. And again, not pedaling at all. So let's go back down and see if we're providing some help to the bike, how it can do coming up. All right, here, on the way back down now, get up to about 27, 28 miles an hour, hit those brakes. Woo, locking up that rear pretty easily. There we go. Now, I like to do 2 or 3 good stops here because I don't think it's the first time you're gonna see how good the brakes are. It's how well they continue to stop, how well they deal with the heat there. So here we go, about 25 miles an hour again. Yeah, I mean, that rear tire is wanting to lock up every single time. So they are very capable brakes there. Very confidence inspiring. They're there every time I need them. And like I said too, when we were doing the walk around, these Tektro hydraulic disc brakes we see on quite a few e-bikes all over the price spectrum. This time up, we're gonna go up while pedaling here. I shifted all the way down into first and I'm gonna kick down pedal assist level here. All right, I'm gonna get to almost a stop here, a little bit of a crawl, there we go. Testing my track standability there. So here we are, pedal assist level 1. And I'm just gonna I'm trying to keep a little bit, maybe a little bit brisker of a pace than I did during the riding footage, just to kind of keep the cadence up here. So here we go, 8 miles an hour, getting about 170 watts. And this is, I'm putting in a decent amount of effort. I could make it up like this, but I would kick up pedal assist level. Or 2, there we go. We almost instantly get, geez, almost 200 or 100 more watts. We're at 337, still maintaining 7, 8 miles an hour. Pedal assist level 3, 350 watts. 4th, almost 400 watts there, kind of sitting right on the edge. And pedal assist level 5. Looks like we're maintaining about 8, 9 miles an hour. Again, I have not needed to shift out of first gear here to maintain this. It's a decent amount of pressure on my legs. You'll be able to hear it through the mic that I am putting in some effort here to get up this hill. Let's go ahead and throw it to some third-person riding footage so you can see how I fit on this bike. And then I will also give you my concluding thoughts on some reasons why you should and should not consider the Volton Alation 500 Plus.
Volton is a new brand to us here at eBike Escape, and the Alation 500 Plus serves as a decent introduction to their offerings. The features and spec list place it among the best that you can get for the price point. However, there were still a couple choices that made me raise an eyebrow or two. We'll get to those in a bit, but let's start with what the Volton got right on the Alation. Volton, being a Midwest brand located just outside of Chicago, has incorporated parts that we don't often see from some of the bigger brands. We're accustomed to seeing forks with flex and from lesser known brands, but the SR Suntour X1 features 32mm stanchions that are robust and fit for a mountain bike, not to mention also stylish as they are black, a commonly missed detail. The Alation is made up of just that, brands that I know that I can trust. Names I recognized are on everything from the tires to the saddle, heck, even the rim sporter brand, Alex Rims, which is a nice but rare touch. These little touches show that a bit more thought has gone into outfitting the e-bike. Another area where the Alation shines through is in its sizing and model selection. The Alation is offered in multiple frame sizes and variations. You can choose between a step through or a high step, and even between an 18 or 20 inch seat tube size, giving the Alation the ability to have a rider's height range from 5'2" all the way up to 6'4". And while that range might seem big, if you're on the shorter end of about 5'8" or have a short inseam like myself, then the step through frame is definitely going to be the better option for you. The medium high step frame's top 2 bar was a bit too intrusive for my liking. And the options don't stop there. The Alation 500 non-plus model, for example, swaps the torque sensor for a cadence sensor, something that we don't typically see. The torque sensor was also tuned to be very approachable and very rider friendly. And that torque sensor also did a great job managing the power from the 500 watt nominal 1100 peak watt motor that did not hesitate to carry me, a 225 pound rider, up our hill climb test. Now, with all of those highlights mentioned, a few aspects of this did raise some concerns for me. First one has to be that battery setup. It's unusual to see a battery that requires the unplugging of an actual XT60 connector that is also secured with a finicky Velcro strap. While I didn't encounter any issues during my rides or while charging, the setup does detract a bit from the overall completeness feeling of the bike. And then being a smaller brand, Volton's customer service is going to feel a bit more personalized. But if you are a current customer, let us and other potential customers know how your experience was. And another sign of a small company is some of the discrepancies that I noticed between the information on their website and what you actually receive on your e-bike. For instance, the Alation 500 Plus's webpage states that the bike weighs 52 pounds when assembled, but on my scales it showed to be closer to about 60 pounds. Small detail for sure, but something to keep in mind. Now, despite these points, do not let them overshadow the Alation 500 Plus entirely. It boasts one of the best spec lists for the price and provided a great riding experience. And if you're inclined to support a US-based company located right here in the Midwest, there's a link to Volton Ebikes down below. Purchasing through this link is a free and easy way to support us here at Ebike Escape. Thank you guys so much in advance for all of your support. So if you value small businesses, name brand parts, and appreciate a customizable frame and fit, the Volton Alation 500 Plus is definitely worth considering. Thank you all so much for watching, ride safe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.